All right, so we're here on the 5-Minute Bark today with Greg Walker. And one of our guests you may have heard before, Brad Lee, had introduced me to him. He said he's an amazing story, very inspirational. And I've just spoke from him a few minutes before this podcast, and you guys are going to love this episode. So, Greg Walker, say hello to everybody out there.
Hey, how's everyone doing out there?
Doing good, doing good. And Greg is from Columbus, Ohio, and his company is called Dream Big LLC. And, you know, we're going to have a lot in common here today. I'm an inspirational speaker. You're an inspirational speaker. I'm sure we have some fun things, some great stories. But mainly, the reason you're here today is because Brad was explaining this amazing story about your life and kind of what has taken you to where you are here today. Can you kind of share that with some people here today? Because I'd love to hear them to hear it.
Well, I like to tell people that, I'm 13 or 15 kids. My dad left me millions of dollars. I had a silver spoon in my mouth, but that's not the case. I had a spoon, but it was broken into a million pieces. I am 13 or 15 kids. No one ever in the history of my family on either side. My dad had 18 kids. My mom had 17 kids. I had 14 brothers and sisters. No one ever made it past the 9th grade. I became the first. I got into franchising business early on, became a multimillionaire by age 30, retired 10 years ago at age 39, and now I speak around the world. That's
awesome. So growing up with 15 brothers and sisters, right? That's correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, obviously that's unbelievable to have that many people in your family. I have a friend who has, I believe, 11, and I can see how he's always fighting to have the attention and so on and so forth. He's always trying to fight to prove himself. Is that something that kind of happened with you as well? You just really said, I want to rise above and I want to help my family.
Yes, I never, I always knew that I was different from my family, and in my book that's coming out soon, that's being written by a ghostwriter who heard my story, I tell it on the first page, I talk about my wife and I, who I'm married to 28 years now. We were studying in math class the first day of high school, and I was asked to drop out of high school just because my 12 siblings before me dropped out. And I was told, young man, you were number 13. And my principal looked at me and says, do I have to tell you that 13 is not a good number? So it's pretty much impossible for you to make it out. And I was going to drop out that day because I thought, who am I to think 12 people before me dropped out? Who am I to think that I'm going to make it, right? So I'm pushing people in the locker. I'm crying. Someone grabs me from behind, and I just want to turn around. I just want to knock their damn teeth out. And it was someone who I loved. It was my 8th grade teacher, Mrs. Rivers, Miss Renee Rivers, who my daughter has her middle name. And this woman she loved me so much. I asked her what she's doing here. She said, I'm checking up on former students, you being one of them. And she said, why are you crying, Gregory? So she led me down to that office. She slammed the door. And I tell people, I never thought that a small stature of a woman could curse and scream so loud like she did, like a drunken sailor. But she did that for me. She came out of that office and told me, she says, young man, you are not your parents. You are not your family. You are who you say you are. So, yeah, I always had to fight. And I always knew I would have a better life. I always want to have a better life for my future children. And I did that because I had a dream. I had a daily grind. I had a daily hustle. And I knew anything was possible if I just put my mind to it.
That's an awesome story. I had one similar. I was my 4th grade teacher. It's funny how you say that. It's just bringing you back to find that people, some teachers are just there. They're totally there for you. And they save your life, like your situation. But even like you said, you said you were on fire. You had a purpose. You had a dream. When did that dream start? Obviously, it started before 8th grade. Started before that incident with your teacher.
Yes, it actually started in. It started when I used to go by this old guy all the time. My wife and I grew up in an all-black neighborhood. People ask me how I know so much about Les Brown. And I tell them, I said, listen, when you're the only white kid in the neighborhood and there's only one black radio station and the DJ is a guy named Les Brown, you tend to find out who he is. So my first dream was there was this guy named Old Man Charlie people would make fun of, and I'd stop by because I was like the loser kid also because of my family life. And I would always stop and people would make fun of this guy, and he would always talk to me, and he told me how he was growing a little bit of corn, off the side of the road in the inner city, and he'd sell it. So he got me in that first. He started teaching me, I think, now that I look back, he taught me about entrepreneurship. And then the 7th grade was where I met a man who totally changed my life with my teacher, Mrs. Rivers. We were sitting in class, and they always bring people in to speak. And remember, we're the only white kids in the class.
Right.
This guy looks at me. I thought he was like 80 years old, but he's really, I think, only like 40 years old. Because when you're in 7th grade, you think everyone's older. So he looks at me and he comes over and he says, young man, he says, there's something I'm saying wrong because you're kind of giving me like this look and shaking your head. And I said, well, you know what? I'm tired of seeing you rich white guys come in here. And remember, I'm the only white kid. My buddy Charlie, who is still friends with me, he looked over and he says, hey, brother, you do know you're white, don't you? So he said, where do you think I went to college at? I said, I don't know, probably California or England or New York. And he says, what if I told you I dropped out of 8th grade? And I said, if you're a loser, why are you here in our class? That's what I told him.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm here because the principal and your teacher asked me to come and teach about success. And I said, well, you dropped out of 8th grade. You're not a success, man. You're like my family. You're basically a loser. And he says, young man, I know your family life. Your teacher prepped me before I came here, and I wanted to speak to you directly. He says, I dropped out of 8th grade. I'm an orphan. But because you grew up here in Columbus, Ohio, then you know my name. I said, I don't know who you are. He says, yes. He says, you love my hamburgers, I heard. I said, your hamburgers? You work at a hamburger place? He said, no. I opened a chain called Wendy's. My name is Dave Thomas.
Wow.
So he said, if you will give me an hour a month, this entire class, an hour a month, he said, it won't always be me. It might be one of my district managers or directors. We will tutor you guys. And he wasn't always there. Right. Every once in a while, he'd send someone there. And only 3 of us showed up. One is an attorney, one is a dentist, and then me, the entrepreneur. So he was my first person that ever got me. And then Mrs. Rivers, my teacher, her belief in me, that's where I first realized that I could be something. That's where, and when she told me, young man, you are not your family, you are who you say you are, that's when I started believing. I knew that the world was mine. Wow. I knew that the world was mine.
Where's Mrs. Rivers now?
She passed away in 2009.
Okay.
That's another thing. People ask me, is it, what's my biggest success? Is it my niece? Is it my nieces I take care of? My daughter? I said, no, my biggest success is in 2009 when Mrs. Rivers' children called me and said, Greg, mom passed away of cancer. She don't want you to know. She don't want you to worry because you're successful. And she thought, you'll be okay. And they said, but our mother wants you to give her eulogy. I didn't know what a eulogy was. They said, that's where you come and speak, Greg. I said, your mother knew I couldn't speak. Your mother knew I couldn't speak. They said, Greg, who do you think our mother's biggest success is? I said, you guys. There's 3 of you. 2 of you are doctors and one's a teacher. They said, no, Greg. Our mother knew that we would be educated. She knew we would make it. She says, she didn't know if you would make it. So you are her biggest success story.
Awesome.
You are her big. So I gave the eulogy in Myrtle Beach, 2009, and I tell people, Dennis, DNA. I hate the word DNA in this family. I hate the term blood is thicker than water, because if you look at my father's tombstone, there's 15 kids, right? There's only 14 names. Whose name do you think is missing off that tombstone?
Yours.
Yes, and I'm the only one who's done good. I'm 50 years old, never touched drugs or alcohol or anything. I'm the only one to make it past 90, but I'm not on there. If you look at Miss Renee's Rivers, her tombstone, she has 3 kids, right? There's 4 names on there. Who do you think the 4th name is?
Yours.
Her favorite student. That's right. That's right. So she's the biggest impact on my life. And I tell people in my book, she's the biggest impact other than my wife on my life.
That's amazing. I'm just speechless here. This is awesome. This is really, really good stuff. When this all happened, when you became motivated, you started doing speaking, but you said before that you didn't like to speak. You were afraid to speak. You were afraid to even talk to some certain people in your life because you didn't want to speak. What made you decide to join Toastmasters?
It was my doctor. I would go to my doctor. If I played football with you, I played football even through college. If I played football with you, Dennis, if you were one of my close friends, we would talk like we're talking now.
Right.
But outside of that, I was quiet. Like I said, I never asked my wife behind me. At 28 years, I never asked her to marry me. I gave the ring to her sister and asked her sister. She hates telling that story so much, she told it last night. She said she's going to start charging me for telling that story. So my doctor 6 years ago told me that, he says, Greg, you say you're quiet, but when you're in my office, you got a couple of my nurses to leave me to open up their own practice as a nurse practitioner. He says, you inspire people all the time, so I think you need to join Toastmasters. I looked at him and I said, Doc, you know I'm a lifelong diabetic. I can't eat bread. And he laughed at me. He laughed. He said, what do you think Toastmasters is? I said, like a convention of toasters or something? And he started laughing. He said, no, Toastmasters, he said, a lot of us doctors use that. It teaches us to become more competent communicators, to learn how to use hand gestures, body language. So I went there. They asked me to do what's called an icebreaker, just tell about your life. And it normally takes 5 to 7 minutes. I think I took 22 minutes.
Wow.
And one of the oldest guys, who's now my speaking mentor, Charlie Ashley, he said, Gregory, he says, save it. And he looked at the people and he says, after my third speech, he says, I do believe we're looking at a world champion public speaker. And I'm looking around. Is it the guy Harold, who graduated from Georgetown, on the left of me? Is it Maria, who is the great orator, on the right of me? And I said, who's he speaking about? And about 20 people look at me and they say, he's talking about you, Greg. And I look at them and I said, did he say a chicken wing eating contest? Because I know I could win that.
Right.
But he was right. He saw something in me that I didn't see. And he said, I always said, because I joined Toastmasters 2 years ago. And I'm speaking in London. There's people who's won the world championship of public speaking who aren't doing what I'm doing. So, and I felt bad because I didn't start speaking until age 48. And what Charlie told me was, Gregory, you weren't ready at 25, 30, or even 45. 48 is your time. 48 is your time. And he says, Greg, you always tell people when you speak, Ray Kroc didn't buy the McDonald's brothers until he's 54. Harlan Sanders, the guy who Dave Thomas worked for, KFC, didn't sell KFC until he was 62 years old. So he taught me that 48 is my time. And I'm living like I'm 18 years old, brother. Mm-hmm. I'm speaking to the world. Like when I go to the Detroit Thursday to speak till May 2nd, I'm elevating everyone at Schoolcraft College, the 850 people that they've already got to come to that place. I'm elevating them to believe in their dreams, to believe that nothing is impossible. And that's what I love to do now, brother.
Awesome. I'm not sure if you know about my background, but I used to speak to schools. I've done over 3,000 presentations at school assemblies nationwide, teaching kids how to motivate and stay drug-free and so on and so forth. So I can speak for you and with you with this. It's just so amazing to talk to students, to talk to college students and children in elementary schools. They're actually the hardest to speak to because adults are going to sit there and be quiet. But with a young crowd, you gotta get their attention. If you're not good, they're going to eat you up for lunch.
You know what? I don't dress up. I only wore a suit twice. When I buried my mother and when I was trying to win the world championship public speaking, right? I wore a suit this time. How you see me now is my ball cap and my dream grind hustle shirt. Because and the reason why I believe students listen to me is because I keep it 100% real. When I spoke to an all-black school, 1,500 kids. There was this big-time lawyer from D.C. wearing a nice Armani suit. They were playing with their iPhones looking. When they get up there and they see me, I tell them, first of all, I said, listen, I don't have to be here. I can be driving around in my Lamborghini or my Ferrari. I can be in Las Vegas with my family. I'm here because I love you guys. So don't think that I'm here because I have to be here. I just tell them straight up. And you know what? They all set up straight and they listen to me. Yep. They listen to me.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I used to use is, if I can get into one of your brains here today and save your life, then I've done my job. And that would say to them, they'd be like, oh, I want to be that person. I want to be that person. I said, so they're amazing. They're amazing to talk to. And when you have their attention, you just feel so powerful and you feel the energy with them and so on and so forth. It's just amazing. I personally love speaking. I'm now getting back into it because of my podcasting, and eventually I want to start doing more inspirational speaking where I'm actually going out kind of like you're doing. I'm not at that process yet, but it's so great to be able to just help people, and share with them.
The biggest reward for me is when someone comes up to me and says, hey, big dreamer, man, I didn't think I could do this. I didn't think I could do this. Listen, when I'm speaking to this class, and I knew the principal of this one school, and she's pointing at this kid sitting in front of me. He's a big kid, looks like he should be playing in the NFL. 16 years old, and he has an NFL-looking body. His head's down, and the principal, my friend, is like pointing down, like, talk to him, Greg. And I go up to, I said, young man, can you please sit up straight? And everyone's like putting their finger across their neck, like, he's a thug, don't talk to him. And I'm not afraid to talk to him because I'm going to talk to him like he's my brother, he's my nephew. And I said, young man, don't sit up straight to respect me. Set up straight to respect yourself. Now, what he didn't know was I knew that people called him a thug, but I also knew he had the highest grade point average in that school. And I said, why do the kids call you thug? He looked at me and said, because they make fun of me and I beat their ass. I said, I'm not going to say you're wrong, because if people pick with you enough times, there's a time when you have to say it's enough. So I ask people all the time. I have a picture of Harriet Tubman in here. And I asked myself, I will buy you a pizza party if you can tell me why I love Harriet Tubman. Everyone got it wrong because she gained her freedom. I said, nope. That was it. I did my speech. I'm leaving the classroom. This kid, Daquan, says, Mr. Gregg, can I answer that question? I said, yeah, Daquan, go ahead and answer. Remember, this is the boy they call Thug Life. And he looks at me and says, do you love Harriet Tubman because of what you're doing? You don't have to be here. You can ride in your Lamborghini, but you're coming back to help us. I look at him. I shook his hand. I said, young man, why did you not sit up straight and say that answer? And then I asked the class, I said, does anyone know who has the highest grade point average in this school? They're like looking around, me. I said, who is it? Who is it? And the principal said, Daquan. Well, now I'm like, dag, Daquan, you smart, dag. We didn't know you were smart. A year later, I go back this year. Daquan, he took the red bandana off his neck like I told him to take that off. Now he's wearing dress pants, dress shirts. He looks like an NFL player now. And he's planning to go to college in the next couple of years.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I told him, I said, young man, don't ever be ashamed that you have the highest grade point average. Don't ever be ashamed. Be ashamed that you're not even trying. So changing that young man's life, and I told him, I said, I didn't change your life. I said, you are the rocket. I'm just a fuel. But I love that. I love that when we can touch someone. Yes,
it's very powerful. And you're certainly touching me and my audience here today with these stories. It's just awesome. Getting back to the big dreamer, the big LLC, what's your goal with that going forward? Now that you're speaking to all these people and...
My goal, because I'm a lifelong diabetic, I almost lost my leg, a couple years ago. I was just recently in the hospital 7 days ago. My job, my whole mission in life is to get people to believe in their dreams, to believe that it's possible, to believe that they can go from being a plumber to being an entrepreneur, to believe that they can go from dropping out of high school to getting their PhD. So my job, my mission is get people to believe that they can step into their dreams, that they don't have to live in that 9-to-5 cubicle that they hate. They don't have to stay in that relationship they know they should have left a long time ago. To understand that they can be better than their best, greater than their great, that they can be phenomenal if they just have a dream, a vision, and they put some action behind that. So that's my goal in life.
Getting back to the inspiring thing, now I'm getting back into it. Getting back into this inspiring thing, 3 things we can leave the crowd with that if they want to go inspire people at their schools or inspire people that are around them as entrepreneurs, is there 3 things that we can use that like you've taken to a next level to help inspire them?
Yes, I believe everyone has a story and we need to share that story. Listen, I didn't speak my story till I was 48 years old.
Right. You said that.
What they have to do is get people to believe. I tell people I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a mind changer. I change the mind. I get behind the mind. I get that junk out of people's head. The junk. MIT did a study that says that if someone tells you a negative effect, tells you can't do something, it takes 16 people to go past you, tell you can. Just to get rid of that one negative effect, it's until the 17th person tells you can that you start believing. So I would tell anybody out there to inspire people. Don't motivate. Motivation only lasts a couple of minutes, a couple of hours. When you inspire someone to take action, like I said, in my book, I talk about my friend Deb at 39 years old. She should have been the class valedictorian, but she had a couple kids in the 10th grade, so she dropped out. And at 39, I see her. I see her husband in the grocery store. He says, you need to come talk to my wife, man. I go over there. She's on the floor. She's having a nervous breakdown. I said, what's wrong with you? She says, you know what's wrong. I'm in a warehouse. I should have been a teacher, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, what's the problem? I said, get up, pull your big girl pants on. You're smart. She said, I'm not like you, Greg. I said, you're damn right. No, you're not like me. I graduated 454th out of 455. I said, you should have been a class valedictorian. If I can become successful, then why can't you? So at 39, it took me 2 years to put the belief in her head. At 41 years old, she went back and got her GED, went to Columbus Community State College, went to Ohio State. I speak at her school once a year. She's not a teacher. She's a principal.
Yeah.
So we all can inspire something, but most of us think that we don't have a story to inspire with. We all have something. And there's a lot of people who want to listen to us. So I would tell people to go and tell your story and let other people know that if you went through circumstances, I'm going through circumstances. If you made it, I can make it too. So that's why I tell people, just tell your story.
That's a good point. Because, everybody's like, got their issues. They've got, whether it's debt or it's, you just feel bad for yourself, or you're just not in the right family. You're not born to money. Excuse after excuse after excuse. And you hear it all day long. And I hear it sometimes. And I just want to punch somebody, and you have the situation, but they need to get that gear turned, right? Gear turned. And it's like, okay, by telling them, listen, man, if you knew my real story, what I'm going through right here, right now, even though I'm successful, you would think again. I have some friends that are dealing with health issues, and I would not give $1 million to have. I'd rather have my health, and
yes,
and that puts things in perspective very quickly. And as you know that.
That's what I deal with. Listen, people tell me you have a perfect life. I said I do have a perfect life. I do have the woman of my dreams, my daughter, my nieces, my nephews. But just like my brothers and sisters might be heroin addicts, even though I've never touched anything at 50, food is my heroin. Mm-hmm. I struggle every single day, and I will give up everything I have, and I'm working on it now to become healthier. But I slip up. Listen, I tell people to never hang around those 7 deadly people, and they're called excuses.
Yeah,
they're called excuses, and I hate the I people. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the education. I don't have the looks. I don't have the smarts. I don't have the heights to play in the NBA. We all come from circumstances. Just stop it. Just shut up. Find someone who's doing what you want to do. Find out what they did. Ask them. Get a coach. Listen, the Mona Lisa has never seen her own picture. You know why? Because she's inside the frame. So I tell people, get a coach. Get Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali has a coach. I have a coach. Tony Robbins has a coach. Deepak Chopra has a coach. So why are you not getting a coach? Don't be that person in the frame, because you'll never see your greatness.
Yep. Excuse after excuse after excuse. It's just a way to just pass on time and pass on time is what really people are doing. I mean, you're right. It's just like once you get past that excuse, you go, oh my God, this is so awesome. This is so amazing. I'm doing. And then you start shedding away the excuses and shedding. And of course, even at our levels, we still have excuses. We're still trying to shed away. There's always another level of excuses we have to get past. I'm sure you have some you deal with on a higher level, and I have some. I'm always dealing with excuses. I mean, I'm tired. I'm sore. I used to be an athlete. My body hurts. I can't. I can't get to the gym 3 days a day because I got to put more hours in at work. It's like, oh, excuse. And when people overcome those excuses, things happen. And they're like, it's kind of like I live near the beach. I can go to the ocean anytime I want to. Every time I go to the ocean, I go, man, why don't I do this every day? It's so amazing. Then I come with the excuse, I got to work all day, I got to work on. Then I go to the beach. Oh man, this is so refreshing. I'm feeling good. I'm amazed. It's like,
well, what you're finding is your why, your podcast thing. That's bigger than anything else. Right. So once you figure out what your why is, for me to make it successfully was because my baby was born. She's now 28 years old. My why was to make sure that she never had to pick worms and put them in coffee cans to sell them to bait stores so she could buy food for her family.
Right.
I never wanted, so my why was bigger than that. We all do use excuses. Listen, I don't know anything about the computer. At 50 years old, I'm learning about the computer. I just learned about Skype a month ago. I do everything on my iPhone because it's so easy. You just swipe. So I'm learning this whole social media thing. So I'm kind of fearful of that. But what do you do? How do you get through fear? People ask, hey, Big Dreamer, how do you get through fear? You face it. There's only one way. You can't go around it. You got to go right through that fear. And you just have to tell yourself, how bad do I want this? How bad what is this going to cost me if I do not take this opportunity? The worst thing, Dennis, I always point to my nieces when we go by a graveyard. I said, look at that graveyard. There's phenomenal books. There's great athletes. There's great podcasters inside that grave because none of them took a chance at their life. And the worst death we can have is the death of regret. To be on a porch at 80 years old, if we make it, in a rocking chair, we see kids playing and we stop. And a tear rolls down our face because we realize that we never took a chance at our dreams. And I know a lot of people like that. My father-in-law at 70 years old, who's in a nursing home right now, he deals with it all the time. He could have tried out for the Cincinnati Reds. He didn't. He could have been a NASCAR driver. He didn't even try. I have scars all over my body from all the chances I took. And there's going to be more scars. So I tell people, tomorrow's not promised. How many people do we know that wanted to have a dream, they wanted to live that dream, but they didn't? They became a practitioner of waiting. They let waiting become a habit. I'll do it next week. I'll do it tomorrow. Well, imagine most people in America what they could accomplish if they was 10 years ago or a year ago or even a week ago. So I tell people, you want to be that best-selling author? don't wait until you have the right computer or whatever. Take a pen out, get some paper, and start writing. Now you are becoming an author.
Right.
Success is easy. The process might be a little bit hard. Putting the long hours in. I slept in my first store for 3.5 years. That's how bad I wanted it. I only left an hour today to go and take a shower, see my baby. So I wanted it. I didn't make any excuses. I knew I could. Even if it rained on my parade, I knew I was not going to be denied.
That's awesome. I think we're going to end with that because you just laid it all out there for you. I mean, people just have to understand that you just got to go for it. You got to give it every single thing and want it. And most importantly, write down your why. You heard him, Terry, everybody. Write down your why and what your purpose is. If you're in a job and you just think that that's where you have to be because you have this and excuse that, but you really want to be doing something like a podcast or inspiring people or becoming an athlete or owning a business, owning a chain, anything out there, what's in your way of getting there? What is the actually getting in your way? And you'll really, if you dig down enough, it's your why and your excuses that are getting in the way. I mean, you heard over and over and over again here that he's had a number of reasons of things he had to overcome and just, I mean, started out with 15 people in his family. How do you get food to 15 people? How do you get through school when you know all your brothers and sisters have failed out? Somebody came along, planted a seed, gave him the opportunity. And that's what another thing that leads to is find the opportunities out there because they will come. I mean, you're seeing it here. God, I'm so thankful to have you on our show here today. It's just awesome. And I'm so excited about, you fired me up. So, and I'm an inspirational speaker. You coached me today. And I just feel grateful that I had the opportunity to be here with you. Is there ways people can reach you? I know you're big on Periscope. You're doing a lot of talking out there. And I want to let people out there know that he gets paid upwards of $15,000 plus cost to go and speak. And he spoke here today for you guys for free. He came on here, took his time out of his day. He could be doing something else, but he came here to speak with you guys, listeners. So I hope you appreciate that as well. And at least, throw some likes his way, show him some appreciation his way. And talk about your Periscope real quick and share people with that.
They can find me on Periscope. That's live streaming at The Big Dreamer.
Okay.
At The Big Dreamer on Periscope. And Greg Inspires everywhere else. Okay. Greg Inspires on all other social media, on YouTube. That's how they can reach me.
Okay. Awesome. Greg, thank you so much for coming on here today. This is the 5 Minute Bark, everybody. Greg Walker from Columbus, Ohio, Dream Big LLC. We'll be seeing more of him, I'm sure. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.